First one we are going to talk about is Man United versus West Ham. Man United, 7th place, 35 points. West Ham in 4th place at 37 points. So this is a pretty juicy clash. It's going to happen Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Man United is minus 110. The draw is plus 280. West Ham is plus 290. On the spread, Man United at minus half a goal remains at minus 110, and West Ham jumps up to minus 105. So, sitting on my couch watching some of these games over the last week, I think the score in the Manchester United versus Brentford game last week really flattered Manchester United. They might have won 3-1, but they were getting killed on the counterattack and actually had less XG throughout the match. De Gea bailed them out several times with some amazing kick saves. And credit to Manchester United for some strong finishing when they were given a chance. But it stood in strong contrast to their opponent, who squandered chance after chance and couldn't squeak a ball past De Gea. So I thought that game was level at worst. And to see a 3-1 win for Manchester United, I don't think accurately reflected the form in that match. On the other side of the pitch, West Ham did allow Jack Harrison to look like prime Alexis Sanchez last week, but they are getting Thomas Souček back and my guy Kurt Zuma, which is really, I think, going to calm things down for West Ham. Ultimately, I think they are just as good as Manchester United at the moment. So if I can get even money for a draw or a West Ham win, I am hammering it. Get it? Get it?
Oh, puns. Wordplay. Wordplay.
What do you got?
I am with you, actually, except I'm going to take it one step further. I'm going to be the adventurous one in the group. I'm going to take that plus 290 on the money line, baby. Give me those hammers.
Woo! Look at that.
I mean, honestly, I think the biggest thing is United, I don't know about you, at least for me, United has looked worse every week that I've seen them play. And I think there's a lot of turnover in terms of like their back line. And it's not necessarily that like Rangnick is a problem or not better than OGS or whatever. Well, the number one thing is like Rangnick, this isn't the thing he's good at, right? Like, you're a wonderful podcaster, but you're better at running a company. And Rangnick's thing is he's a director of football. He's not a manager. And I think part of that is playing out a little bit as we see some of the choices and starting 11 selection. But I also think that like if we use each game as a data set, like we're just starting to see that this team isn't very good. Ronaldo is looking more and more washed. He wasn't really happy with being subbed off either for a center back. There's kind of unconfirmed reports that like Rangnick went to the board and basically said that United's entire defensive line like wasn't good enough to be at the club. I'm sure if that has any kernel of truth, that's not sitting very well. So, I mean, they just don't look good. And we know what West Ham is. The Leeds game was really weird. Part of it was mostly because Manuel Lanzini has kind of been filling in. And Lanzini is a fun little player, but the dude is not part of a double pivot. He's not a central midfielder. He's more of a guy that you play in the attacking band. But because Souček is out and West Ham's only other senior midfielder is Mark Noble, who was also unavailable, Lanzini was playing alongside Declan Rice, which is not great. And I think this is so weird to say. I think Leeds is actually a little bit more suited to take advantage of a double pivot like that than United is. Just because Leeds has like actual really good passes in the midfield at least in terms of Calvin Phillips, where, United has McTominay and Fred. So the McFred midfield, not super overwhelming, trying to move the ball through the Lanzini sized hole in West Ham's defense. But the other thing I can't get over, Jared Bowen, Michael's new favorite West Ham player. I think every week goes by, and we've talked about the Davies rankings, that like expected goal added thing where it kind of combines all the actions of a player on the pitch. Every week goes by, Bowen just hangs out in 5th, right behind all the Liverpool studs. I think he's going to be a legitimate superstar, and he is actually going to be my prop bet this week. He is plus 350 to score a goal against United, and he averages 0.39 non-penalty goals per 90. So essentially, another way that you can kind of read that stat is he has about a 39% chance to score every week. So I'm going to take the plus 350 on my new favorite superstar and the hammers on the money line.
I like it. I like it. Some big numbers out there. And speaking of big numbers, I know that extra points could go bankrupt with me running it, and I would still be a better businessman than I am a podcaster. So for my prop this week, look, Manchester United, as you're pointing out, they look frustrated right now to me. Ronaldo is acting out. He's pouting even when his team is winning, when he gets substituted out. When he's on the pitch, he's pouting just as much. I can see this game with West Ham, getting Zuma and Souček back, and Declan Rice in the middle, being much more physical, and I can see it getting a little chippy, and I can see the ref having to put things back together. So give me Man United over 1.5 cards at minus 130. West Ham is also plus 100 at over 1.5 cards. But since United seems like a much whinier, reactive club to me, I'll actually lay the odds and take them on this prop.
Oh, there's definitely a Bruno Fernandes like drag down yellow card coming if they're losing. So you got one in the book if they go down.
Yeah, and if Ronaldo scores, he's probably getting carded for the shirt coming off. So there's another one right there. All right, so let's move down a little bit further in the calendar on Saturday and pick up Southampton versus Manchester City. Southampton is 12th on 24 points. Manchester City is, of course, first at 56 points. This game is Saturday at 12:30 p.m. Southampton is plus 950. The draw is plus 500. Man City is minus 370. Man City giving up a goal and a half is minus 125. Southampton is plus 110. So I look forward to Brett also taking the long odds on this game, since that seems to be his thing this week. But, in a lot of ways, these Manchester City games, despite them being the league leaders, have also become the least interesting to talk about. They are Thanos at this point. They are simply inevitable.
Yeah.
They may have only won 1-0 versus Chelsea last week, but they thoroughly dominated that game, particularly in the first half, which was just as imbalanced as a 0-0 game can possibly get. They don't ever seem to switch off. There's no reason to think they'll start now. Southampton, on the other side, routinely gives up multiple goals to their opponents, none of whom are as good as City. And you only have to lay a little juice on that spread for the killing machine to kill again. So the juice doesn't scare me. Give me Manchester City minus a goal and a half at minus 125.
Oh, well, it's going to be boring because we're in the same spot, man. It's kind of tempting, to just kind of play devil's advocate. It's kind of tempting because Southampton actually did come to the Etihad and scored a draw with City earlier this year.
Did you say the empty head?
Yeah,
I thought I heard you say the empty head.
But they scored
That's all
a draw.
I got left is the Chelsea fans. All I got left is to make fun of their attendance.
You know what? I understand you're hurting. Maybe the therapy session next time should be for you, and we should talk about this inferiority complex that you're feeling with Chelsea and Manchester City.
Yeah, next time. Hey, audience, you think you're getting off light? We still got a Chelsea game to talk about at the end, so you might want to turn it off if you don't want to hear me on the couch.
Well, before we get to that part, before people tune out, we'll finish this. But no, yeah. So there is a little bit of they played them tough. There's some sort of thing where, Hasenhüttl is actually a pretty good manager. He's a guy that, honestly, if Everton was looking at, I wouldn't really be that upset about it. But the thing that you got to look at from that earlier season game is Rodri was out and Aymeric Laporte, their center back, was out. And you kind of look at City and you go well, who fucking cares? They have all these amazing attackers. They're one of their midfielders and one of their center backs is out. They have, Fernandinho stepped in, John Stone stepped in. Who cares, right? Well, the thing is, and we're going to talk about this a little bit more, is guys like that make a difference, especially in a machine like City, where they are a team that relies so much on possession and they put a lot on guys deeper in the field to move the ball and keep the ball in the attacking third. And Fernandinho is basically a statue defensively at this point. Rodri's thing isn't being peak Fernandinho, where he runs all over the field during a counter and breaks up plays and somehow avoids getting a yellow card, even though he horse collars somebody. But Rodri and Laporte are really important at getting the ball in the attacking third and keeping those opponents pinned back. And City didn't have those guys. Both those guys should play. And I think that's going to make a totally different dynamic, which is why, like I said, like you said, it's Thanos at this point. City going up a goal. The question probably with City is not basically when they go up a goal, it's how many they score. And it seems like because Southampton has given up in the last couple months between 1 and 2 expected goal chances per match, it seems like that 1.5 gives you a little bit of an edge. So I'm right there with you. And then on top of that, I'm not going to do the clean sheet for you because you don't get very good odds. I'm going to do something a little out of character for me. I'm going to actually take a specific scoreline. And because that kind of Southampton defense is allowed pretty much like clockwork between 1 and 2 expected goal chances per match, I'm going to take a 2-0 City win as the final scoreline for plus 650. So we get a
wow.
We're going to go for a very narrow result, but it seems like 2-0, given everything that we've laid out, is a huge part of the City range. It seems unlikely that City is going to run away with this game. It also seems unlikely that Southampton is going to scrap it out and like keep this within a goal. So I kind of like that like 2-goal window. And, you know, again, scoring against City seems like it's basically a fluke. I mean, James Ward-Prowse could maybe kick a free kick in from midfield or from the center line, but, you know, who knows at this point with him. But I mean, that's kind of what I look at. There's a great range. A lot of it sits at like that 2-goal mark for City, and it's very unlikely to see Southampton score. So I'll take the plus 650 and see if I can get a hit.
Yeah, West Ham to win outright, an exact score in the Manchester City game. You are living life this week, my friend. You got some pep in your step.
Let's do it.
So I was scanning the prop list and trying to find some plus number that was, you know, made some sense to me. Because, like, Manchester City is just killing everybody right now. And so the odds on the actual game, as you were just talking about, aren't all that much fun to bet. I mean, you can take the spread and get a smaller negative number, but it's hard to get in the pluses and still look at a team outcome. The one I found that I liked is Manchester City to win both halves is plus 160. So with the international break coming up, there's really no need to fear heavy rotation. And as we frequently talk about, Man City's third string is still super scary. So I expect them to dominate this game from start to finish. And this is a great way to get those plus odds. If you want a similar bet, but a little bit safer, Man City to score in both halves, not just win both halves, is minus 125. But even if they leak a goal, I think they could easily get 2 goals to cover it. So I'm going to go ahead and push it up to plus 160 to win the halves outright.
Well, I mean, that's a great pick, too, because, you know, City is kind of the antithesis of, pretty much every normal team in a lot of ways. And one of those ways is they don't take the foot off the gas. Even some of the better teams, even a team like your beloved Chelsea, when they go up a goal, they will still look to kind of control the game, control possession.
Are you kidding me? They don't just take their foot off the gas. They light the car on fire and run to the hills. I mean, pick a different team. I
wasn't go with that violent of an imagery, but I will let you. This is a therapy session. This really is a therapy session right now. We're getting to the root cause of the anger. We're close, but it is one of those things where City doesn't take their foot off the gas, and so a bet where they win both halves, they could go up and go early. You know, a normal team probably sits off a little bit unless they're managed by Marcelo Bielsa. You know, they'll set off, but City is just going to step on your neck. And that's why I kind of like that one. I'm actually jealous of you digging that one out.
Oh, wow. All right. Now I'm smiling. Now I'm happy again. Chelsea's problem right now is a lack of focus, concentration, and sharpness because they're playing way too damn much. And Tuchel is a demanding tactician. They cannot be cranked up to 11 all the time, which is what we kind of expect from them. So they are switching off later in matches. They're taking their foot off their gas, lighting the car on fire, running away. And they're doing it over and over again, which is why they keep giving up leads. But they have enough in reserve for big teams, and they never relax against them. And we've seen that. I mean, like, I thought they were going to get crushed by Liverpool. You heard me on this podcast saying, what was the argument for them? And they, willed out a 2-2 draw. Manchester City is running everybody off the field. Like, yes, they did dominate the first half against Chelsea, but it was still a 1-0 scoreline that came from a magical moment from one of the best players in the Premier League who took advantage of Kepa's blind spot, which is any ball he's kicked from outside the box, which is exactly what we talked about last week. I mean, we literally gave out De Bruyne out of the box goal at like plus 600, and then bam, that was the difference in the game because he just can't see the goddamn thing. I don't know why.
We're just fucking prophets. Let's just leave it at that.
But, they just took care of Tottenham twice in the cup. They knock them out of that, and they don't switch off in games that they get up for, and they get up for big games like this. So despite them giving up these leads over and over again, despite the sky falling according to every paper in London and throughout Europe, in this particular match, give me Chelsea to win at minus 150.
Ooh. Well, first off, it was just very hard to follow that energy right now. But I kind of, I mean, you watch them week in, week out. So I will always defer to you as the Chelsea expert because I'm pushing my glasses up here. My numbers don't always tell me, you know, the week in, week out experience watching Chelsea, especially cup matches that, no offense, I have no incentive to watch whatsoever to watch Chelsea play a cup match. But the one thing I would push back on a little bit is I do think that what maybe we're seeing with Chelsea is not so much a motivational type thing, but they're missing a lot with like Reece James and with Ben Chilwell. Like those two as your wing backs put you in a really good spot. Because when you play a wing back in a back three system, you don't have anybody in front of you to help cover that side of the field. Like wing backs have to move up and down. And Marcos Alonso is not only one of my least favorite players to watch in the Premier League, but I also think he's verging on wash territory. And when you rely on a guy like that, when you have to play with like Azpilicueta as the other wing back, or you play a back four where Alonso's a fullback and Azpilicueta is a fullback, it's just leading to these really weird kind of lineups. They look sticky. They look like they can't control the game as well as they used to. And I think that's a big part of it. I do think that with each passing week, we're kind of seeing that growing thing of, is Rom really a great fit with the way that Tuchel's trying to play? And I think another part of it too is like Kai Havertz is really good at something, but it's not the attacking stuff. Like he's one of the best defensive forwards in the Premier League, but he's not great at goal scoring. He hasn't been healthy. He hasn't seen the pitch. You know, Werner has still struggled with finishing. Tuchel made a weird thing where he subbed him on in their last match and like had him play as like a winger, like out near the touchline, which is definitely not the thing that you want Timo Werner to do. You know, and Mason Mount has kind of weirdly been yo-yoed in and out of the lineup. So they're just in a weird place, right? Like they're in a weird spot.
Yeah, look, I talk about them switching off and giving up leads. Yes. The biggest problem they have right now is Reece James and Chilwell are not playing. I mean, that I absolutely agree with. I'm not saying this is binary. It's one or the other. It's both. Because Reece James, as somebody who watches every match, was arguably the most influential player on Chelsea. Certainly the most influential player in the attacking half, even though he was doing it from a wide position. I mean, I think the only like competitor before he went down is you'd have to say it's somebody like Thiago Silva or somebody in the defense that was actually having a good year with Conte playing as us. But like they missed the hell out of him.
Can we get a shout out to my boy Kovacic? Come on now.
Yeah, no. Kova always gets his flowers. But he was really, really, really important to the team, and so was Chilwell. And like, yes, Alon Slow is definitely on the wrong side of his career, and he's no longer.
Did he have a right side of his career? Where was Alonso's right side of his career?
Probably under Conte.
Can we do a side podcast on the right side of Alonso's career? I want to hear about this more.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a very limited series. It might just be half an episode. But yes. So yes, they're definitely missing those guys. Unfortunately, they got to keep playing. And they gotta keep going at it. And this week, I know Conte relies heavily on his on his width, but like they're not playing Trent Alexander-Arnold. They're not playing João Cancelo. Like I might be nailing in my own coffin here, but I just don't fear those guys in a top level match all that much. And like those guys against Watford, yeah, I think they're going to cause a lot of problems. Or a mid-table team, but I guess I don't fear them the same way that I look at, Liverpool or Manchester City's options in that part of the pitch, and think they're going to be able to fully exploit the weakness that you're pointing out. But like, I don't want to drag this into a Lukaku discussion, so let's save that for February because that's going to push us well past the hour mark. I do want to quickly turn over to the other side of the field because while the Spurs are our rival, are we seeing the birth of something special over there right now in the partnership between Kane and Conte? He looked so lively against Leicester. And while everybody is, kind of celebrating Bergwijn and that miracle finish, that was one of the craziest results. If you didn't see it, I mean, please go back and watch the end of the last Tottenham game where they had the latest come from behind victory in Premier League history. It was really Kane's inch perfect pass that set up the miracle winner just as much as the finish. Plus, he scored earlier in the match. Plus, he was a threat the entire time. He appears to be a world beater again. It's not like this is something new under Conte. Diego Costa, Romelu Lukaku, and many others were never better than when Conte was their manager. So we really seeing the best we're ever going to see out of Kane over the next 18 months before Conte fires him over text.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's interesting too, because we've seen two different versions of Spurs under Conte now. Is we've seen his 5-3-2 that he went with a lot at Inter, and we've also seen the 3-4-3. And it's part of it's been injury has kind of dictated how he's played. But it doesn't matter because Kane has been completely like rejuvenated under Conte. And so this is kind of fun. And it's more just like Nuno was just so terrible for them. And I just want to point this out in the number, and the numbers unfold this. So Kane has played 9 matches under Nuno, and he's played 9 matches under Conte. Under Nuno, he had 22 shots in 9 matches. Under Conte, he had 38. Under Nuno, he had 1 non-penalty goal in 9 matches. Under Conte, he has 3. Under Nuno, he had two non-penalty expected goals in 9 matches. Under Conte, he has 6. Under Nuno, he averaged 0.09 xG per shot. So basically, each shot that he took had about a 9% chance to go in. Under Conte, that's bumped all the way up to 0.15. And he generally has just been so good. I mean, like, I watched them in their last match, and he's up top with Lucas Moura, Lucas Moura. And you don't even notice that Kane is up top with Lucas Moura because he had 10 fucking shots against Leicester, and he completely controlled and dominated that match with a midfield of like Oliver Skip and Harry Winks, and Emerson on the right as a right wing back. He is definitely reborn to a point where I think this is going to make this match more competitive than it should be, given the sum total of parts on Spurs, because Conte has clearly found a way to unlock a really, really good striker that maybe we thought with the ankle injury and the compressed season, he was starting to slide downhill. Kane's not done yet. And it's very clear after these 9 matches that there's still a lot left in the tank. And so between Chelsea being kind of meh, and this new Harry Kane, I'm like kind of bullish on the plus 0.5 on Spurs. I mean, I'm going to maybe hear about this next week, but yeah, I think this is a game where it's just going to be really hard for them to pull away. And you're always that one Harry Kane strike away from tying a match, it seems now. I mean, shit, he took 10 shots against Leicester. He took 7 against Liverpool. So it's not like, he was beating up on these bum teams. These are 2 top half the table clubs. Liverpool obviously is going to probably end up finishing second in the league this year. And that's why with Kane, I don't care what the fucking number is. He's underperforming his XG. We're talking about one of the best finishers in the world is underperforming his expected goal total. And he's plus 200 to score in this match. Toby, can you take out a second mortgage and loan me some money, man? Like, fucking put some shit down on this. Yeah, but I'm going to be betting basically Harry Kane, anytime goal scorer pretty much. And this week it's plus 200. So throw that shit down.
All right. So you're taking the Spurs to either win or draw, and you're taking Harry Kane as your anytime goal scorers. And like I gotta say, as much as I hate Spurs, I can't hate either one of those. I worried I'm looking a little bit through blue-colored glasses, but then I look through those glasses and try to think about the last time that Tottenham actually beat Chelsea, and I smile and place my wager. I will say, though, that I will take the under 2.5 at minus 115 on the total number of goals. Like I said earlier, I don't expect Chelsea to switch off, and when they are on, they are still strong candidates to hold the other side completely, Harry Kane's form notwithstanding, and plus, like, who's Tottenham's second-hand threat in this game? Like, their midfield is kind of in disarray right now. I don't know if Son's going to be back, but playing more up top certainly doesn't scare me. And so keeping the number of total goals down, and it's not like Chelsea's attack is clicking on all cylinders, makes a whole lot of sense to me right now. If you do want to fade me, the Tottenham bets I like. If you believed in Chelsea kind of giving up goals and going into the international break in complete disarray and 2 weeks of Tuchel's getting fired stories. If you want to follow that narrative, Tottenham to score the last goal is plus 195, which I like a lot if you think this is going to go the other way, because they could draw and still get you still win that bet and you get better odds. Tottenham to win either half is plus 180. They get a goal, like see if Chelsea fights back or not. They get a goal in either half. I'm not sure Chelsea has that fight in them, given what I just watched against Brighton last week. And Tottenham plus 130 to score in the second half if Chelsea does switch off yet again and give up yet another second half goal, whether they have the lead or not. So I'm taking the under on the total goals because I think the 6 score lines it gives me 0-0, 1-0 either side, 1-1, or 2-0 either side are the 6 most likely results. And I think I'm getting good numbers on that.
Well, and the other thing that you got to factor that in too is that there's a very good chance. I mean, Tuchel's been playing a little bit more with a 4, that 6 center backs could be on the pitch. That's not great for goals.
Yeah. No, I mean, he's actually started playing Sarr out at left wing back because we don't have any coverage. So you say 6 center backs might be on the pitch. That, I mean, there literally might be 6 center backs on the pitch and just playing different out of position.
Yeah.
So it's going to be certainly interesting.